Level 1, the kid nobody wanted. You are 7 years old. The island is called Mindelo, a port city on São Vicente, one of the 10 islands that make up Cape Verde. Population 70,000 people, 3 hours from the African coast by plane, far from everything, known for nothing. Your father wanted to name you Valdano, after the Argentine striker who lifted the World Cup for Real Madrid. The authorities said no, so they called you Yosimar. But the older boys on the street had another name for you, Vozinha. It means grandmother in Portuguese. They said it to mock you, the small kid with the soft voice who was always in the way. You were supposed to be a striker. Your father told you so. Every evening on the broken concrete near the harbor, you ran at defenders and dreamed of goals. But your team already had a striker. What they didn't have was a goalkeeper. Nobody wanted to stand in goal. It was the position for the slowest kid, the weakest kid, the kid the others pointed at. They pointed at you, so you pulled on a shirt 2 sizes too big and stood between 2 rocks and told yourself it was temporary. Just for today. Just until someone else volunteers. Nobody ever volunteers. Your grandparents raised you. Your mother worked whatever hours she could find. The island didn't have much to offer, but your grandparents made sure you had a ball, a meal, and someone watching from the doorway when you came home. Your grandfather sat in a plastic chair outside every evening. When you came back from training, he always asked the same question. Did you keep a clean sheet? You told him yes, even when you hadn't. At school, they taught you that Cape Verde had never qualified for a World Cup. Not once. Not in the entire history of the tournament. Your teacher said it like it was a fact about the weather. Something unchangeable. Something that simply was. You listened. You nodded. And then you went back to the rocks and stood between them and told yourself a different story. One day the whole world will know your name. Right now you are 7 years old, barefoot on a harbor island, wearing a goalkeeper shirt nobody else wanted. And the boys who gave you that name have no idea what you're about to do with it. Level 2, the journeyman. You're 25 years old. Most goalkeepers turn professional at 18, 19, 20 at the latest. You turn professional at 25. Not because you weren't good enough earlier. Because Cape Verde doesn't have a professional league. The island doesn't produce professional footballers. It produces fishermen, dock workers, musicians. The boys who grow up dreaming of football either stop dreaming or find another way. You find another way. Your first professional club is Batuk FC, a small side on the island. The same year you make your debut, a boy named Lamine Yamal is born in Spain. You don't know his name yet. You will. From Batuk, you move to Angola, Progresso do Sambizanga, a club in Luanda that nobody outside Angola has heard of. You live in an apartment with no hot water and train on a pitch with no grass. You send money home when you can. You call your grandparents every Sunday. Your grandfather still asks the same question. Did you keep a clean sheet? From Angola, you move to Moldova, Zimbru, Chisinau, Eastern Europe. Winter temperatures that drop to -15. You're the only player from Cape Verde in the entire league. You speak no Romanian. You learn by pointing and nodding and watching. From Moldova, you move to Cyprus, AEL Limassol. You win a cup there. 1 trophy. In 19 years, 1 trophy. You hold it in the dressing room and take a photograph and send it to your mother. She prints it and puts it on the wall. From Cyprus, you move to Slovakia, then back to Portugal. 2nd Division, GD Chaves, a small club in the north of the country where the winters are gray and the crowds are quiet. 200 games, across 6 countries, across 19 years. Nobody has written a profile about you. No scout has called your agent with an offer from a big club. You have never played in a top division. You have never appeared on a television broadcast that more than 10,000 people watched. Your grandfather died before you left Moldova. Your grandmother died the year you moved to Slovakia. They never saw you play outside Cape Verde. You are 39 years old. You have given everything to a career the world never noticed. And then the letter arrives. Cape Verde has qualified for the World Cup, their first in history, and they want you in goal. Level 3, the call-up. You are 40 years old. The letter is not a surprise. You have been Cape Verde's first choice goalkeeper for 12 years, 89 caps, more appearances than almost anyone in the history of your national team. But this letter is different. This is not a qualifier, not a friendly, not a tournament that the rest of the world ignores. This is the World Cup, Cape Verde, 500,000 people, an archipelago of islands in the Atlantic that most football fans couldn't find on a map. And you are going to North America to represent every single one of them. The camp assembles. You look around at your teammates. Some of them were children when you made your international debut. One of them tells you he grew up watching you play. You laugh. You tell him to focus on training. Inside, something shifts. You call your mother. She is in Mindelo, the same port city where you grew up. You tell her the dates. You tell her the city, Atlanta, Georgia. You tell her you'll get her a ticket. You will sort the visa. She will be in the stands when you walk out. She cries. You cry. You hang up and start making calls. The visa process takes weeks. The money needs to be in the account before the appointment. The appointment gets delayed, then delayed again. You call the embassy. You call the federation. You call everyone you can think of. The deadline passes. Your mother will not be in Atlanta. You don't tell your teammates. You don't tell the coaches. You pack your kit bag the night before the flight, the same way you have packed it for 19 years, folded and careful, and you leave a space in your mind where she was supposed to sit. The stadium in Atlanta holds 70,000 people. One seat will be empty. You know exactly which one. The draw is made. Cape Verde's first ever World Cup match. First ever game. First ever opponent. Spain, the European champions. World number 2. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Ferran Torres, the most technically gifted squad on the planet. Your teammates go quiet when the name comes up. Some of them look at the floor. You look straight ahead. You have stood between two rocks on a harbor island and stopped everything that came at you. You have done it in Moldova in minus 15 degrees, in Angola on a pitch with no grass, in Slovakia in front of crowds who didn't know your name. Spain is just another opponent. You walk into the biggest stadium of your life, and the game begins. Level 4, the night against Spain. You are 40 years old. Atlanta. June 15th, 2026. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. 70,000 people. The lights are the brightest you have ever stood under. The grass is the greenest you have ever touched. You run your fingers along the turf during the warm-up, the way your grandfather ran his fingers along the fishing nets every morning before going out. Careful, methodical, like the contents matter more than they should. Spain kick off. Within 3 minutes, you know this is going to be the longest night of your career. They move the ball like water. 1 touch, 2 touch, gone. Lamine Yamal, the teenager who was born the same year you turned professional, runs at your defenders like they are standing still. 7th minute. Ferran Torres breaks through. You read it early. You spread wide. You save it. The crowd makes a sound you have never heard directed at you before. 13th minute. Pedri from the edge of the area. Low and hard to your right. You get down fast, both hands. You smother it before it can spin away. Your defenders look at you. You point. You organize. You talk constantly. The way you have talked in Romanian and Angolan Portuguese and Slovakian and Cypriot Greek. In every language you never fully learned. Pointing and nodding and making yourself understood. Spain, keep coming. 27 shots by the end, 27. You face Oyarzabal. You face Torres twice more. You face Laporte from a corner that should have been a goal. Each time you find the ball, each time you get something on it, the 70,000 people in the stadium begin to understand what they are watching. Halftime. Your coach says something, you don't hear it, you are already thinking about the second half. 60 minutes. 70. 80. Spain bring on Lamine Yamal. The crowd lifts, your defenders drop deeper. The space closes. You command your box like you have commanded every box for 19 years, in 6 countries, in front of crowds who never knew your name. 90th minute. The board goes up. 4 minutes added. You make your 7th save in the 93rd minute. A header from inside the 6-yard box. You don't know how you get there. You just do. The whistle blows. Zero. Zero. Your teammates run at you from every direction. They mob you. They lift you. You disappear under a pile of blue shirts, and for a moment, you cannot breathe, and you don't care. Quick thing, if this story is hitting different, tap subscribe and stay for what's coming next. When they let you go, you are standing alone on the pitch, and the stadium is still roaring, and you think about one thing: 50,000 followers before kickoff. You will check your phone later. You have no idea what you're about to find, but right now you are standing on the grass in Atlanta, and somewhere in this stadium there is an empty seat, and you have never felt more full. Level 5, the empty seat. You are 40 years old. The press conference room is small and bright and smells of cheap coffee. You sit down in front of the microphones and the cameras and the journalists who have flown in from 40 countries to cover a tournament they thought they already understood. They expected to write about Spain tonight, about Lamine Yamal's first World Cup goal, about Pedri's vision and Torres' movement, and the European champions doing what European champions do. Instead, they are writing about you. Someone asks how it feels. You open your mouth to answer, and the tears come before the words do. You don't stop them. You think about your grandparents, the plastic chair outside the door, the question they asked every single evening for as long as you can remember. Did you keep a clean sheet? Yes, against Spain, at the World Cup, in our first ever game. You think about the apartment in Moldova with no hot water, the pitch in Angola with no grass, the crowd in Slovakia that didn't know your name, the cup you won in Cyprus that your mother printed and put on the wall. 200 games across 6 countries, across 19 years, and every single one of them led here, to this room, to this moment, to these tears in front of cameras that are sending your face to every screen on the planet. Your phone is in your jacket pocket. You felt it vibrating during the post-match interviews, constantly, without stopping, like a living thing. Before kickoff, you had 50,000 followers. People who knew your name, mostly from Cape Verde, from the small community of supporters who had watched you for 12 years in qualifiers and friendlies and tournaments nobody televised. You check it now, in front of the journalists, because you can't help yourself. 6 million. You show the screen to the journalist sitting closest to you. He laughs. You laugh through the tears. Someone takes a photograph of that moment, and it will be on the front page of sports sections, in countries you have never visited. But the number is not what you are thinking about. You're thinking about a seat in a stadium in Atlanta that was empty tonight. A woman in Mindelo who watched on a small screen in a room by herself because the visa money didn't come in time. Who called you before the game and told you she would be watching every second. Who has your grandfather's question written on a piece of paper next to the television. Did you keep a clean sheet? You're going to call her the moment you leave this room. You are going to tell her yes. You're going to tell her that 70,000 people in Atlanta were screaming your name tonight. The name the boys gave you to hurt you, the name that means grandmother, the name you carried across 6 countries and 19 years and 1 World Cup that nobody thought Cape Verde would ever reach. Vozinha. It doesn't mean grandmother anymore. It means the night. A 40-year-old goalkeeper from an island nobody knew stopped the whole world in its tracks.